Good day. It is my pleasure to start a brand new chapter in endocrinology. We're going to discuss for module number 3 hormone diversity and mechanisms of action. Credits are due to Hazel Ann Tabo of the Biological Sciences Department for providing an outline for the discussion of this chapter. So, in this module, we're going to learn three important things. Number one, why hormones work. Number two, how hormones work. And number three, the different types of hormones, their general categories, and particular examples. So, to start the module, let us discuss a few introductory concepts. Let me introduce the concept of target cells. The target cell concept is a very useful way for us in understanding how hormones work. In endocrinology, target cells are defined as cells where hormones have their effects. It is said that target cells are responsive to hormones because of the presence of a receptor which can recognize and bind to that hormone. In this way, hormones only affect a limited number of cells in the human body, even though we know for a fact that hormones are circulated in the bloodstream. No? As a very important part of the hormone action, target cells are physiologically relevant to hormone receptor interactions, primarily defined by three factors or three concepts. No? When a hormone uh, activates a target cell, the binding of the hormone with the receptor should be specific. And this specificity is actually displaceable in the presence of substances that can serve as agonists or antagonists for a particular hormone. The binding of the hormone to the target cell can be um displaced. Number two, this binding phenomenon should actually be saturable, meaning there will be a certain extent at which the cell will be responsive to the presence of the hormone, that any excess or any unneeded concentration or excess of the hormone will not be tolerated by the cell anymore. Without the phenomenon of saturation, it is impossible for target cells of hormones to be regulated in terms of their physiological response when they are activated by the hormone. And lastly, the binding phenomenon should occur within concentrations that are expected to give a biologic response. Now, aside from the target cell concept, let me also introduce the concept of hormone receptors. Hormone receptors are actually proteinaceous. No? They're proteinaceous structures that can identify the target cell. So, only the target cell of a specific hormone will have a receptor particular for that hormone. So, these receptors or proteins for recognizing the presence of hormones have basic features that we have to understand. In terms of its biochemical nature, hormone receptors, which are proteins, contain two important domains. So all hormones, be it peptide or protein based or steroidal, lipophilic, okay, all hormones have recognition and coupling domains. No? So this recognition and coupling domains are responsible for the binding process and signal transduction process that a hormone manifests as it binds to its target cell. The recognition domain is the area of the receptor where binding of the hormone happens, and the coupling domain, a second region in the receptor, is the area which generates a signal that will link hormone recognition to some kind of intracellular function within the target cell. No? The binding of the hormone by the receptor implies that some region of the hormone actually